The doctor who converted to Islam after a dying girl's last ayah. What if I told you a world-renowned doctor, famous, respected, and a believer only in science, had his entire life changed by a dying Muslim girl? A girl who had only 3 months to live. Yet her calmness during death became the key to someone else's rebirth. This is the story of how the Quran touched a heart that never expected to believe. In the heart of a bustling city stood Noor Memorial Hospital, a towering building of glass and steel that reflected both the miracles and tragedies happening inside its walls. And it was here that the story of Dr. Adrian Hale and a young Muslim girl named Amina began. A story that would ripple through countless hearts and echo the profound truth hidden in the Quranic ayah. To Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. He gives life and causes death. Dr. Adrian Hale, a world-renowned oncologist known for his unmatched skills and a heart that once believed only in science, had spent years chasing cures, answers, and formulas, pushing away the idea of faith like a distant myth that held no place in his world. Little did he know that fate was preparing him for a lesson he had never expected. Amina was 19, gentle-faced, soft-spoken, and deeply devoted to Islam. The kind of girl whose eyes carried a shining sincerity that touched anyone who glanced at her. Yet fate had unfolded a harsh decree upon her when she suddenly discovered she had acute blood cancer and only 3 months left to live. Her parents, shaken yet clinging to hope, admitted her to Noor Memorial Hospital, where her fragile body was connected to tubes and medicines, but her heart remained firmly tied to her Creator. On her first chemotherapy session, when the harsh medicines began flowing into her veins, a soft trembling passed through her body, not of fear, but of surrender, and she gently opened her lips and began to recite the Quran in a soft whisper that floated like a calm breeze in the sterile hospital room. Dr. Adrian Hale happened to pass by her door that day, exhausted after a long surgery, and something, maybe curiosity, maybe fate, pulled him toward the faint sound. He paused, hearing a soft mumbling in Arabic, a language he did not understand, but the melody of the words tugged at something deep inside him, something he had long forgotten existed. He stepped into the room slowly, expecting to see panic, pain, or fear on the girl's face, but instead he saw a calmness that stunned him, the kind of tranquility no medicine could create. Amina looked up, her eyes weak but glowing with peace, and Dr. Adrian felt a strange relaxation wash over him, like the world had quieted for a moment. Without saying a word, he nodded politely and stepped out. But that night, he replayed her voice in his mind, confused at how a dying girl could look more peaceful than he had felt in years. The next day, without fully knowing why, he returned during her chemotherapy session. Again she was reciting, and again he felt that same serenity, like the words were washing something heavy from his heart. He stood silently near the door, listening, absorbing a peace he had never tasted. Day after day, he returned, not as her doctor, but as a silent listener, drawn by a force he could neither explain nor resist. Eventually, curiosity overtook him, and he gently asked, "What are you reading?" Amina smiled softly and said, "The Quran. It brings peace to the heart." Her voice was weak, but her conviction was strong. He hesitated, then asked if he could see it, and she handed him a small, pocket-sized Quran with English translation. That night, he read a single verse. Just one verse. It was enough to stir something inside him. Every day after that, he returned for a new ayah, asking Amina to explain its meaning, and she would share, in her simple, gentle way, the wisdom and comfort of Allah's words. As the days passed, he noticed something strange. He would feel anxious, stressed, or overwhelmed, but the moment he heard the Quran or read an ayah, a calmness settled inside him like a gentle rainfall on dry land. He found himself waiting for the moment he could return to her room, almost counting the hours, as though her presence and the Quranic words had become a healing he never knew he needed. The hospital staff whispered among themselves about the famous doctor who suddenly found time every day to sit with a young cancer patient. Listening to her like a student learning from a teacher. One evening, when her strength was fading more quickly than before, he approached her with the Quran in his hands. "Amina," he said gently, "there's one ayah I read, but I do not understand it fully. It says that life and death belong to Allah. I want to understand what that truly means." Amina's eyes glistened, not with fear, but with a peaceful acceptance. She weakly motioned for him to sit. "Doctor," she whispered, her breath shallow yet filled with certainty, "it means that nothing in this world happens without Allah's plan. Life is not in our control, and death is not in our control. We are only travelers in this world. Allah gives us life as a test, and when He decides that our time is finished, we return to Him. Death is not an end, it is a return." Dr. Adrian sat frozen, feeling her words settle deep into a part of him he had locked away for years. She continued softly, "You save many lives, doctor, and that is a gift. But even you know that sometimes, even with all your skills, all your machines, all your medicines, you cannot change Allah's plan. That ayah means that no one dies a moment before or after the time Allah has written, and no one lives without His permission. So do not fear death, doctor. Fear a life without purpose." Those are the last words she ever said. Before he could speak again, Amina's breath slowed. Her eyes drifted upward, as though looking beyond the ceiling, beyond the world. Her lips moved silently, perhaps finishing a verse. Then, with a calmness that pierced him to the core, she returned to the one she had placed all her trust in. Dr. Adrian felt something break inside him, something heavy and painful, yet somehow opening him to a truth he had ignored all his life. The machines beeped loudly. Nurses rushed in, but he remained still, staring at her peaceful face, realizing that in her death, she had taught him more about life than he had learned in decades. That night, he opened the Quran again, but this time the words felt different. They felt alive, comforting, guiding. He read for hours, tears falling onto the pages, until he reached the verse she had explained. Suddenly, every part of his life made sense. The successes, the failures, the emptiness he had been trying to fill with career accomplishments. Amina's peaceful death had shown him a truth that his scientific mind had never considered. That faith was not the opposite of knowledge, but a light that made knowledge meaningful. Within days, he sought out a local mosque. The imam welcomed him warmly. With a trembling heart and tears streaming down his face, Dr. Adrian Hale recited the shahadah, bearing witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is His messenger. At that moment, it felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his chest, replaced with a peace he had never experienced. He walked out of the mosque feeling reborn, remembering Amina's words, "Fear a life without purpose." She had been the teacher, and he the student. A girl fighting death had guided a man saving lives toward a truth that would save his own heart. And though she was gone, her story lived on in him, in every Quranic verse he read, in every prayer he performed, and in every patient he treated with compassion grounded not just in science, but in faith. The world later learned about the famous doctor who embraced Islam because of a dying girl's courage, faith, and softness, and his journey became a reminder that guidance comes from Allah in the most unexpected ways, through the most unexpected people, exactly at the time He chooses. And sometimes, the smallest whisper of the Quran in a hospital room becomes the loudest truth in someone's heart, changing their life forever. If this story touched your heart, imagine how many more souls could be moved if you simply shared it. Help us spread powerful Islamic stories, reminders, and real-life transformations. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and be part of a growing community dedicated to reviving hearts and spreading light. Your one click can become someone's source of guidance.